Hi, Sean. Nice
Hi.
to see you. Hiya. A point and a clean sheet in the end. What did you make of that performance?
Well, not the performance, but I'm pleased with the outcome because I thought the performance were miles off, absolutely miles off where we can be. In balance that, I've asked a lot of these players and we continue to have to ask a lot of them. Another 3-game week for us. We did ask the Premier League for the game last week, both sides actually, Fulham as well, to not be this week, and they put it in there, and then we got more injuries. We've got another one in 2 weeks we've asked not to be put in there, and they've put that in there as well. So that's complicated on the back of just an extraordinary injury situation. So I've got to be careful what I ask of the players, but we were nowhere near our performance level today, I didn't feel.
What did you make of your view on that penalty shout in the second half with the ball striking Carl Bartley's arm?
Yeah, from a distance it looks like a pen, but I think I've only seen it once quickly, but I'm not sure that it just glints off his thigh. And if it does, of course, excuse me, he can't move his arm out the way. We've seen him given. You'll probably know we historically don't get penalties anyway. So that wasn't a big shock to me that we didn't get it. But on reflection, only seeing it once, I think it just about just touches his thigh on the way out. So I presume that's why they didn't give it.
I know you've spoken about this before, but just how tough is it at the moment with the injuries? Because you said there you've got a free week at the moment. I think your next play is next Sunday, isn't it? And obviously, like you said, that's very important for you, having some time and hopefully more players available.
Yeah, I mean, it's a head scratcher, the injuries. I can only imagine that it's down to the scheduling and the change of timings and things like that, which, don't get me wrong, we're all trying to work with it. So I'm not criticising too much. But, we have 13 games in 42 days, I think it is. That's a lot. Premier League level, that's a lot of games. Over the winter period, training schedules almost trying to sort of protect players through training schedules. At a time when there's COVID everywhere, at a time when the rules said we couldn't feed the players on site and all these challenges. So whether all that has affected it, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine it's had some effect on our injuries. We do carry a smaller squad as well. So, like I said, I've got to be careful not to over-criticise these players because they give us a lot and they continue to give us a lot. And 13 in 42 is a big schedule to complete, whether you've got injuries or not. So, but we were off today, that's for sure.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Dave Facey, come in, please.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Dave.
Were you tempted at all to put an extra attacker on earlier to try and take advantage of the extra man?
I don't know who you're thinking of, Dave. I was going to put on, but apart from young kids who, are not experienced in the Premier League and haven't played a lot of football in the Premier League, so the answer would have been yes. But on this occasion, I don't know if you thought Phil Bardsley, I was going to put him on at right centre forward. But it's fair to say we are stretched. And Joel Mbongo, don't get me wrong, he's doing great and he's been part of the group. But he's a young kid really, and he's it's his first look at football at this level. So we're asking a lot of these lads if we're throwing them on a Premier League football pitch at this stage, I think.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Joel with the extra man. Maybe it would have been his sort of opportunity.
Yeah, well, like I say, we've got to be mindful of, some of these players have not played hardly any football and we're throwing them in Premier League football matches. So, part of their development is not to be thrown in too early. We're asking a lot of people like Joel. Great in a way, don't get me wrong, great in a way is getting around it and getting a feel for it and the experience of it and the level, of course. But I'm not expecting too much out of these young players. I'm not expecting them to turn the corner for us, or anything like that. The difference with Dwight McNeil, say, he'd been with us a long, long time. He'd been training with us and working with the first team for a long time before I put him in, and he'd been around it. Some of these lads have come out of nowhere, really. And, I don't believe in, my personal opinion, I don't believe for our group that it's relevant to not put people on the bench. So therefore, I always try and fill the bench. And at the minute, we've filled it with as many players as we can, and even obviously having 2 keepers on as well.
Was it also a case of maybe waiting for things to happen rather than making them happen because you had the extra man and the boys maybe thought it was going to go their way?
Yeah, I don't think it's as a deliberate thing, but we certainly, I think the fatigue today was the first time it's caught us out in a long time. They looked jaded in a physical way, but it's the mental side, the clarity of thought, the clarity of the simple stuff. I mean, they gave the ball away so many times today. Now, I'm not remotely suggesting we're like Man City who keep the ball for fun, but I'm talking about simple passes, playing it out, pass someone 10 yards away. That's mental fatigue. When there's so many, that's just people losing focus and losing concentration. The pitch, it must be said, it's the first time I've questioned it in a while. The pitch is in really poor state at the minute. Obviously, tough winter, heavy game schedule and all that. I think there's a number of factors. So like I say, I've got to be careful. The The players give us an awful lot. They have done for a long time here. So, you know, they were off, definitely. We didn't grip the game, definitely not. I come away with another point, and we come away with another point and a clean sheet. So that's probably the overriding pleasing part. But we know we can play better than that. We know these players can play way better than that.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.
Chris Borden, please. Burnley Express. See you next, Mike.
It's hard to be critical, isn't it? But I mean, it's a long while since you've been as off the mark as that, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I agree, Chris. You know, like I say, I've got to be a little bit careful because, you know, if we had everyone fit and we played that game and we'd had a normal schedule of maybe a week rather than 3 a week, I'd be more critical. But I've asked so much, and we continue to do, and we are going to have to continue to ask a lot of these players. So that is the reality of where we're at. That being said, I still do ask a lot of these players, and I demand a lot, and I did at half time, and we just couldn't rise to it second half. It was more of a clarity thing, the clarity of thought, dealing with the ball, doing the simple things well, and we never really got to grips with that. And credit to them, don't get me wrong, it's not all about us. West Brom stayed in their shape, they worked very hard, and they opened us up a couple of times through our trying to be too open and giving the ball away in ridiculous situations, to be honest. But they should have scored. And the game could have got away from us. So don't get me wrong, the overriding thing when we're way off, I thought, is that we get another point and a clean sheet. And that's just from the diligence of a group who just about keep going, even when they're at a real low one.
Did Jay have a knock, or was that just to make a change?
Jay? No, he was struggling with his calf. At half time, it was touch and go whether we let him carry on, because I'm having to make decisions for these players to try and protect them. And we did. And the longer the game went, I just thought, could it be an anomaly for Joel to just go on, as young players do, and just add that little bit of edge to a performance? And we're sort of trying to protect players as well. It's really difficult at the minute. You know, I'm having to make decisions which really, ordinarily, you just put players out there who are fit, they get on with it, you see what happens. At the minute, I'm having to sort of make decisions on protecting players, which is very difficult when you're trying to win games as well.
Brownie had a penalty later on as well.
Who was that, sorry?
Brownie, when he I think Vid bent his run back and Brownie got clipped in the area.
Yeah, I don't really get too involved in penalties because I don't get that many, as you know. So there is no point really in me talking about penalties. And if we got lots of them, it probably would be, but we don't get many. So no, I don't remember it as clearly as being that. The handball's a maybe, but I think it touches his thigh on the way to his arm. So that's, I presume, why they didn't give it. No, so like I say, it's more the game was about us not being on top of ourselves today, that's for sure.
A chance of having a few of the lads back for Spurs, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're waiting on news. Woody looks like he's got a chance. Eric Peters looks like he's got a chance. Barnsley probably not. We'll have to wait and see. Johan, we're waiting on more news, and Robbie. Well, there's a few off the bat. I'm forgetting there's that many. I'm just forgetting.
Well, cheers, Sean.
Cheers, thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Can I go to Matt McGrath, please?
Hi, Sean.
Hiya.
Did you think it was almost inevitable that Mike Dean would have a big decision to make? Given that he's come back from what he has, and in general, have you spoken to him at all since the final whistle as well?
No, I thought he had a really good game. I don't think there was any question marks about his performance at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Simon Stone, please.
Sean, I was just going to ask, what is wrong with Ashley Barnes?
A thigh injury.
Not serious, or are you looking at for a couple of weeks? Or
We'll wait and see.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Simon. Anybody else? No?
Thanks, everyone. Stay well. Cheers.